message today is clear. Card check legislation is wrong for North Carolina. It will cost jobs. It will deny workers the fundamental right to cast a ballot in secret.
Privacy.
Card check legislation is wrong because it will give the federal government and the federal government lawyers the ability to write labor contracts and impose them on both workers and management with no vote and no approval. Card check legislation is wrong for North Carolina because workers will not only lose the fundamental individual right to vote on a secret ballot, but they will also lose the right at all to vote on their
The employees would decide whether or not there was going to be a secret ballot election or not. Employees can still decide that. Well, I don't read that anywhere in the bill, but you know where they're coming up with that? You know, it's like anything, it's got a little grain of truth. And that little grain of truth is, if the union wrote on that union card, I want a secret ballot election, signed John Doe, well then they would get a secret ballot election. Now how many of you think the union's going to write on that union card, I want a secret ballot election? No. Never, ever, won't happen. So when you hear somebody say to you the employee still gets to choose, that's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. And I guarantee you, having been in nearly 100 situations like this in elections, it's never happened in this.
Unions have virtually wrecked some of our basic industries in this country, and we just don't need this kind of environment, in my judgment, in North Carolina. I suggest to you and ask you to help protect our American right to fight and protect the secret ballot. It occurred to me as I was thinking about these comments yesterday, if we lose the right of a secret ballot in union elections, it's likely not to be too many years before you'll be walking into the voting place facing some bureaucrat who sits there and asks you openly who you want to vote for. That is not the American way, and I suggest to you we could not be too far away from losing the right to go into a voting booth and vote our conscience. None of us want to see that happen. You may have heard Rush Limbaugh yesterday. I think he said it best. He said, we are fast losing our country. And folks, my personal view, not necessarily the view of Americans for Prosperity, is that if we allow this bill to be enacted, we'll be well on our way to what I consider to be fascism. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your help.
Senate Minority Leader Phil Berger and House Minority Leader Paul Skip Stan have also spoken in favor of keeping this law in place. Minority Leader Phil Berger and House Minority Leader Paul Skip Stan have also spoken in favor of keeping this law in place. Congress that want to shove public employee unions down the throats of unwilling North Carolina lawmakers and taxpayers by enacting another misnamed bill called the Public Safety Employer-Employee Cooperation Act, which would force all North Carolina state and local governments to collectively bargain with some public employees. This would be an outrageous overreach on the sovereignty of the state of North Carolina. Now, you may not agree with us on this issue of keeping the ban on public employee unions. That's okay, we live in a great democracy. But I say to you this, that 50-year-old decision belongs in the halls of Jones Street, not K Street. The decision over public employee collective bargaining belongs in the North Carolina legislature, not made by
public safety. What happens is with collective bargaining and binding arbitration, yes, we got better benefits. There's no question about it. We got a little bit of an increase in salary. We got some better benefits. But the effect on public safety, in my opinion, was disastrous. If you look at where is that money going to come from, first it starts with an increase in taxes. But at some point in time, there comes a tipping point where the taxes and the benefits and the salaries, something has got to give. And what gives is fewer officers on the street, fewer people to back me up when I've got to go to a call, and an unsafe working environment. That's what the union did to our department. It reduced the number of officers that we eventually had and held us back from growing the department to a size that was should have been for that department. When I came down to North Carolina, I was stunned by the number of officers.
Let's not let a small group that just want to do something for their own personal gain change the structure and the fabric of our country in a way that the next generation and the next generation won't get an opportunity to experience what we have, and that's a free and predictable United States of America. Thank you for being here.